So thank you all for joining me this morning. I know it's an odd time of day to have the coaching, but I think it's probably useful for those of us who are at home at this point and not too busy with children and working. I wanted to do it this time of day just to get going, but we will be able to replay these for people who can't do it right now. So welcome also to all of you who are watching after the live stream and have joined the course. I really decided to go ahead with this. It's very last minute, but actually I think if not now, well, then when? And I've just been spending this last week really having to react very quickly to a lot of things going on at work. We have West Lexham running here, which is a retreat centre, so lots of groups coming, and of course a lot of questions from everyone. And I think this is exactly, in a way, what we're here to work with. And first of all, in this whole first session, I think it's going to be very introductory, also talking a lot about just how to handle all this information. Myself, I have just spent the last week listening to the news, looking at social media, having conversations, speaking to friends who are in other situations, speaking to friends who are also in the hospitality industry or group-based activities. A lot of our teachers are obviously yoga teachers and they rely on groups. So it's been interesting to see what's been going on. And it's been interesting to observe just how I am reacting to all these different types of media. I think one of the really key issues here going forward is how we manage ourselves in relation to the news coming in. So one thing I really noticed was that there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of confusion even by those people who are apparently in the positions of authority. Their messages are changing day by day. We don't know what's going to happen with the businesses day by day. And so it's really important for us now to get super grounded and really only start going out to those sources of information when we are feeling very centered and aligned. So one of the things here I'll be sharing some little practices just to get into that space. And in fact, I think we'll do one just now, just to ground all of us into our bodies and just so we can find ourselves right in the space all together. So if you just want to close your eyes for a minute, take a deep breath. Really feel your body expanding with the breath as it goes in, and let it all out, and even maybe give a little sigh. Really feel your body. Feel your body, feel where it's touching, where you're sitting, where your bum might be touching the cushion, where your back might be touching the seat. Your arms might be touching your legs. Take another deep breath and really feel into where you are right now. Listen to any sounds around you. I can hear the birds. Any smells. And take another deep breath in and out with a little sigh. And welcome back. So it doesn't need to be a huge thing every time, but these little exercises can make a huge difference to how we feel when we're getting all this news. There's actually a term called VUCA, which stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, and was originally used in the early 90s, I believe, by the American Army to explain war zones. And funny enough, has been used in the last, I would say, 3-4 years already in business. So a lot of people are aware that we are getting to a time where there is such a huge amount of information that it's very hard for our mind to process that. And also, we're so interconnected now that something small can have a very, very big effect. So it's much less likely for us to be able to predict events as they happen. And you can see now that's exactly where we are. But we've already gone through huge amounts of change in a very short amount of time, and we've just become used to that. But actually, if we really sit down and think about it, or sit down and check in, it's having quite a strong effect on our bodies. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely been sitting here going, God, wouldn't it be nice if I had just more time? I wish I could just stop time. I wish I could stop everything apart from myself so I could catch up with all those things that I need to do at home for myself, for my family, for my work, and then just pop back into reality and it's all done. And it just seems like this ever-ending, overwhelming to-do list that never gets finished. And so actually we have a real opportunity here, if you're in isolation, to really get some of those things done. But it's impossible to do those on a back, effectively to a backdrop to our own fear and panic. And so I wanted to talk a little bit just about our nervous systems. And some of you may know all about this already, but it's just really good to remember that our autonomic nervous system is working. There's two. There's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system is basically the one that creates fight or flight responses. It's the one that reacts to emergencies. It's the one that reacts to surprises. It's the one that keeps us alive, quite frankly, in moments of needing to react very, very quickly. And what it does is that it shoots adrenaline into the system, turns into cortisol. It basically gets us very focused, gets the heart rate up, gives us a huge boost of energy, and it's essentially there for us to run or to fight someone who's attacking us. And one of the issues has been that we have slightly been in fight or flight for a really long time because there's so much going on. And our parasympathetic nervous system is the one which is called the rest and digest system. It's basically one that calms us down after we've had a sort of sympathetic nervous episode and brings us back to stasis, but brings our heart rate back down. And once we're back in that stage, it lets us go into less emergency processes like digestion and rest, but also most important, healing. And so in this stage where we're trying to really keep our immune system up, it's incredibly important that we bring ourselves back to this point of stasis again and again and again, because ironically, this whole panic is just making us more prone to illness. So within all of that, I'm just checking my notes. Yeah, within all of that, it's incredibly important to take our time to take care of ourselves in that way. And the most obvious ways and the easiest ways, as we've already seen, are meditation and breathing. Because one of the things that we also stop doing when we're in panic is breathe properly. And as we've probably been pretty overwhelmed and in low-grade panic mode for probably maybe years at this point, without doing, if we're not really taking care of that side of ourselves, it can be that our breath has been probably very shallow and not very full for a long time. Now, there are brilliant programs out there. There's lots of information on YouTube about things like transformational breath, deep breathing. I will definitely put up all the resources that I have for this on the network. So if you could leave me your email, I'll invite you to that. And meditation and breath work very well together. Meditation anyway helps bring breath into focus. A lot of meditations work with being aware of your breath. And as you're aware of your breath, you become slower at breathing and breathing more deeply. And then breath work itself works with a very deep breath that really you push into all of your organs and spaces. And as I said, I'll share that with you as well. So one of the, there are many different types of meditations. And I think for a lot of people, some of you may already be keen meditators, so that's great. This may not be great news for you. But also for those of you that aren't so used to meditating, I am not someone to do very well sitting down and being still. However, the respite has been that with some of my teachers, I've been able to see that there's many different approaches to this. And it doesn't always need to be as intimidating as it sounds, the idea of getting rid of one's thoughts. It's like that big pink elephant in the room then. So actually, it's really finding stillness. And if you are someone who prefers to be walking, then that is also totally possible. You know, it's all about becoming very conscious and aware of your surroundings as well. So there's obviously the usual state of meditating, which is in seated position. There is a walking meditation. There are many different types, but there, you know, you can either walk incredibly slowly, one foot in front of the next, and just really becoming aware of how many different processes it takes in your body to balance, all the different systems it takes to keep you moving without falling over. So that's a slow one. You can also choose to do a faster one between two certain points. And those are very good if you just feel that you relax most in actually being active. Another great one for strength and courage is actually a standing one. It's just a standing one, almost like standing with your legs apart and your arms down, feeling your fingertips down towards the ground and your neck straight and up, and feeling really connected with your body towards the ground and towards the sky. And feeling that strength you get from just standing straight and in a prepared way. So I think if you can find what works best for you, that's a great in. Try to do something like that every day and really just concentrate within that space. Again, on your breathing, on your surroundings. A great introduction that, well, and a great way of thinking, avoiding the going down the rabbit hole with your thoughts, is to see your thoughts either as clouds passing through the sky and just let them come and go. So it's not a question of pushing them away, but letting them in and letting them go, as if you're the sky within which they're moving. And another good analogy I like is the idea of trains. So that as you're sitting there, concentrating on your breathing, breathing in and breathing out, the thoughts will come, but it's like seeing a train come into the station and letting it go without getting on. And if you do get on or go for a little ride with the clouds, and as soon as you're aware of it, just come back to concentrating on your breathing. So one of the things I wanted to give you as an exercise is, in fact, to do some meditations. Try out different ones. I will send through the information on the short meditations for you to try out today before tomorrow, and see which one really sort of works for you, and then stick with it at the same time if you can, or stick with it at least every day for the next week, so that you can really get a feel for just finding that space again in yourself. One of the big importances, one of the reasons that's important as well, the meditation, something that meditation brings, which is, I think, really useful in this time, is the disassociation of ourselves with our thoughts. It really underlines, when you notice the thoughts as clouds or as trains, that you are not your thoughts. And I think in times like these, where the thoughts that are coming, thought forms that are coming into our awareness, into our consciousness, are full of drama, can be full of hype, can be very, very, anxiety and fear inducing. And it's at this point, if we can get this practice going of practicing not jumping onto these thought trains, it's really good practice for when this information is coming into our lives that can induce a lot of anxiety and panic, to see it as another train that we can choose to get on or off. So equally, yes, we might want to pursue that article, we might want to read it, we might want to get into it, but we're making sure that we are coming from a space, from a place of space. We're choosing to jump on, we're choosing to take in the information, and we're choosing also to jump off again, and not to get so involved in the atmosphere it creates that we feel it's our own. So that's where I think that the meditation can be extremely useful again. Also, you'll find that quite often the sympathetic nervous system you'll recognize, because it's not just in panic situations. And actually, every time you have a triggering behavior, negative behavioral patterns, something, you'll know it, because in every relationship you have, there are just certain things people say which always get you het up, and you always react in a way where you afterwards just think, oh gosh, I've done it again. So, these situations are exacerbated, those triggers are exacerbated if we are already in a place of unknown and panic. And that's why this remaining calm and really training ourselves to remain calm is super, super important, because it will not only affect all our decisions, but it will affect our relationships by exacerbating these triggers within ourselves anyway. So one of the things I wanted to look into is to go down into the fear a little bit. And as one of the coaching exercises will be to look at your fear, to also take this space again that hopefully the meditation and the breathing will create for you, to look at your fears from a more objective place, because they usually indicate things that are important to us as well. So right now, if you know anything about this, the fear that's created through the media is going straight to our first chakra survival system. It's zooming straight past all our common sense, straight to the bottom, going, the worst reaction being, me, myself, my family, how do we survive? How does it, and becoming very, very internal and going inwards. And I think probably the whole loo roll situation is indicative of people being in that space. They are in their bottom chakra, just needing to keep themselves clean, and we're really trying to bring ourselves right back up, and really to assess all the things that are going on in our emotions from a place that's a bit higher and objective with good perspective. So looking at our fears in this situation is a really good place to start, just to park them, to look at them and park them, so they have been considered and they don't need to keep coming back up to remind us of something. So one of the exercises will be to look at your fears. What are your fears in this situation? And, are they, is it, there'll be a whole range. For me, there is obviously the worry that a family member or myself might die. I'm not so worried about myself, but, it's about elders in my family. What will happen to our business? Will we have to shut down? Will it actually make us bankrupt? What will happen to the schools? How will we educate my children? All these things. And also, the loss. What am I afraid to lose? And I think that's also what's really important to look at. What are we afraid to lose? Situations like this are extraordinary, and yet it's a brilliant opportunity to look at our ordinary lives and actually appreciate everything we have got in ordinary lives. One of the exercises, therefore, will also be to look, what are we afraid of, what are we afraid to lose, but also what do we appreciate in everything that we have around us already? How much do we already have? It's very easy to concentrate on what we can't do, and yet there's so much to be said for really appreciating all the things that we can do that we take so for granted. Just the kitchen implements that we use every day. Being grateful how easy it is to make breakfast, how easy it is to make the food we want, seeing that the plants are all coming out, the beautiful flowers that are outside the window, in the parks. So one of the exercises will be to name your fears, but also then to really appreciate everything that you have got in your environment and where you are at home. It's a great time for taking stock. It's a great time for taking care. So as I've already mentioned, working on the nervous system is really key right now. And also the right nutrition. The right nutrition, full of vitamins, healthy foods, as much as you can, lots of water, all these things that keep your immune system really going. Vitamins, if you can get your hands on them still, lots and lots of vitamin C, vitamin D, B, all important to take a bit of extra if you can. And also important to get the people around you to do that, if you can, everyone in your household, that'd be great. And again, sharing these ways of keeping everyone in a relaxed state, at least as much as possible around you, will really help to create a home environment that's conducive to keeping your immune systems up. So I'm just checking my notes now. So another exercise that I want to give you, and I'll write all these down. Sorry, that's my husband coming in. Another exercise I want to give you, which is probably going to be a more fun one. So we're looking at fears, we're looking at gratitude, but this one is quite fun, which is another sort of more active meditation. Actually, it's again about creating space. It's about seeing how quickly we can be pulled out of our normal sense of awareness through things that are piquing our interest. So it doesn't necessarily have to be negative, but obviously negative seems to do that more because it works with our sympathetic nervous system. So if you are sitting around at home, you've got a bit of time, watch a video, a film that's probably action-based or whodunit. Bit of a negative spin to it would probably be the better one. But even if you're just super into rom-coms, try that. But for a little while, sit with a pen in your hand while you're watching and try and stay aware of the pen in your hand the whole way through the film, or at least as far as you possibly can. And again, when you notice that you've lost your attention to the pen, see where it was possibly that you lost attention to the pen. It's a really interesting one, just to notice how quickly we're taken out of our bodies and into our minds, and particularly into our fight and flight mode. So it's a really good one to practice, especially if you have to have some very difficult conversations in the next few days, or if you need to make any difficult decisions. While you're going through your pros and cons and decision-making processes, try and keep conscious of a pen in your hand. While you're having difficult conversations with people, keep a pen in your hand and try and stay conscious of that as well, because it's all about staying in your body and not being pulled out too much into your triggers, into your senses of panic, and into your fears. It's a very simple one, but it's harder than you think. Anyway, at this point, I'm just going to stop and see if there's any questions you might have, or any particular fears you might want to share that you would like to have addressed today. Tomorrow, I will go more into our triggers and into personal limiting beliefs and negative behaviors that we can look at in this time, to really do a little bit of mental decluttering, behavioral housekeeping. We'll get more into the personal nitty-gritty. I just wanted to start off today with a few introductions to things that we can do just to keep ourselves in a space of more perspective while all of this is going on, from which we can then do everything else that we're going to do together and in and around you. So do let me know if you have any questions. So what I'll do is I will, if you send me your emails, I've got emails of a few of you who have registered. I will invite you to my Mighty Networks community. I've created a community on Mighty Networks. I'm still trying to work out how all of this is really working. So please bear with me, and I will invite you to that. And the idea of that is that there's going to be just an online community where we can really have much more free discussions. Obviously, this is kind of one way, and it feels a bit strange to be just talking at you rather than being in conversation. I do really want to make sure that this is relevant to you and your fears. And as we go through the exercises, I really want to be here for you to ask, to be here to answer any questions you might have, but also just to be in conversation a bit more and with each other, because I'm sure that some questions one person will have will be relevant to all the rest of us too. And while I'm sitting here as a coach, I'm also here as someone who's affected by it. So it's really sharing my experiences and wisdom where I can, but equally, I'm sure we all have something to bring to the table. So I really look forward to creating a network. The course and in its completion will also be on there once we're done, so other people can join us as we go through. You're really my guinea pig, so do let me know if you have any other questions now. I did ask a question. What was my question I asked you on this? What is your biggest fear around the coronavirus at the moment? So I've asked that just on here for you guys to sort of start checking in as a group, but equally, if none of you have any questions right now, I'm happy to just sit together for another couple of minutes, have another little eyes closed moment, and bring this session to a close. And then if you could ask me any questions and things that you want addressed in the next week, that would also be super helpful. My email is, I will put it on the side actually for you to see. I'll just write it out now. So it's there. My email is izzywinkler@gmail.com. So do email me directly with any questions or any topics you would like to have addressed. I have got a theme. I have got my themes for the week, but I'm very happy, obviously, to include what's needed because that's, the more dynamic way to do it. So on that note, then, let's close our eyes again. Take a deep breath. And out with a sigh. One more time. Feel yourself back in your body. Listen to the sounds around you. Feel yourself connected through your spine right down to the center of the earth. A deep grounding root that keeps you centered and objective. And feel another strong arm of energy reach up through your body and up into the sky towards the stars. And feel this rod of energy going all the way through you from sky to center of the earth to keep you strong, centered, and connected. And come back to the space whenever you can, as much as you want to. So thanks very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Please do send me your emails, and I will put on all the references that I have towards different types of great meditations that are good for now, breath work as well, deep breathing, and I will put the questions up in your email as well, and as well as in the community for you to work on today. So thanks so much. Take care.